You ever have one of those moments where you're just standing there, minding your business, and suddenly you realize everyone around you is watching, just waiting to see if you'll take the bait, or maybe crack, or maybe just disappear? Yeah, that was me at Gate 24 at LAX, right at sunrise, coffee barely kicked in, my suitcase barely skimming the tile, and this vibe in the air, you know what I mean, the kind where you sense something's about to go sideways, but you don't know how or why yet. So let me back up a sec. The airport was buzzing the way only LAX can, everyone rushing, announcements echoing, but I was calm, probably looking like someone who belonged in first class because, well, that's exactly where I was supposed to be. Naomi Sinclair, black businesswoman, CEO, built my name from nothing, and I don't say that to brag, just to say I'd earned my seat. I'd earned everything, which made what happened next even wilder. I stepped up to the counter, feeling sharp navy coat, silk scarf, you get the picture. The gate agent, Chloe, gave me this once-over, the kind that's more scan than greeting. She laughed, not the warm, we're all in this together laugh, but this little snort like she'd just heard the best joke, and I was the punchline. That's quite the accent you have there, she tossed at me, and before I could even reply, she was already moving on, flicking her keyboard, barely glancing my way. Now, if you've ever felt yourself shrinking in a room full of strangers, you know exactly how this felt. Her smirk, the quick glances the other agents threw, whispers passing between them like a secret only they were in on. There's been a change to your seat, she said, and suddenly my a window, champagne before takeoff spot was gone. Looks like you're in 44E economy. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I just nodded, kept my voice cool, but the sting, man, it burned. Passengers behind me were getting impatient, some rolling their eyes, a few looking at me like I was making a scene, even though I hadn't raised my voice, hadn't said a word out of turn. But that's how it goes, right? You're seen as the problem just for asking for what's yours. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. But the way she said, sometimes the system corrects itself, with this little shrug, like it was nothing, yeah, that was no accident. I asked for a supervisor. She hid her earpiece, fake polite. Sure, someone will be right with you. But the minutes dragged, the line grew longer, and the whole time, Chloe acted like I was invisible. Then Lucas, a junior staffer, came over cold and looked me in the eye. He whispered, "They said you're not the right image for first class. Safer if you're in the back. You ever have the bottom fall out from under you?" I didn't flinch, not outwardly. Inside, though, something clicked. I didn't shout, didn't cry, didn't even bother to argue. You learn, after a while, how to pick your battles and how to win them before anyone realizes there's a fight. So I stepped aside, phone buzzing, my pocket, me assistant's one-word text, ready. That was all I needed. I watched Chloe work, saw the way she gave a white guy in cargo shorts her best customer service smile, bumped him up to business like she was handing out candy. Other staff, like Grace the flight attendant, gave me these nervous glances. She saw what was happening but looked away, hands trembling as she adjusted her badge, then vanished down the hall. Not everyone who watches injustice is a villain, you know? Sometimes they're just scared, but scared doesn't help anyone. So there I was, stuck at the gate, knowing it wasn't just about me or a seat or some stupid ticket. It was a system, quiet, insidious, built on silence, on people looking away, on complicity disguised as protocol. And the thing about systems is you don't always break them with noise. Sometimes you break them with receipts, with patience, with power exercised in silence. When boarding started, my name was an afterthought, called like I was a problem they'd finally decided to handle. I took my seat in economy, but not quietly. I watched everything, every exchange, every upgrade slip to the right kind of passenger. Grace walked by again, looked at me, and for a split second, I thought she might say something she didn't. Lucas caught my eye, guilt written all over him, but he kept his head down, pushing buttons, pretending not to notice. I sat there, not defeated, but collecting details, the names, the seat assignments, the jokes, the silence. My phone buzzed again. Legal team, logistics, all the people I'd quietly put in place for days just like this. Because the thing about power is, it's quiet until it isn't. I let them think they'd won. Let them believe I'd taken my demotion, my little piece of humiliation, and would go home with my tail between my legs. But see, they never saw the storm coming. By the time I landed in Denver, my team had already started to move. Contracts were paused, vendor relationships frozen, executive bookings canceled, and the airline's system started glitching in all the ways that really matter, because money talks and silence, when wielded by someone with power, is a hurricane. At the airport, Chloe got called into a glass-walled conference room, her hand shaking, her story falling apart under the scrutiny of supervisors and compliance officers. Meanwhile, Lucas submitted a formal report, dry, factual, but enough to start a review. Grace finally found her voice, reporting the timeline to her manager, the smirks, the protocol violations. And Chloe, she tried to write me an apology. I didn't need it. I'd already won. Not with outrage, but with calm resolve and a refusal to let silence protect the system any longer. As for me, I was back in my office, looking out at Denver skyline, reading updates from my board and legal team, watching as every partnership with that airline was quietly reevaluated, as vendor contracts were severed, as their precious brand image started to crack under the weight of exposure and lost revenue. I didn't need to go public, didn't need to go viral. All I had to do was pull the right strings in the right places at the right time. A week later, I brought together my advisors and partners, not for a press event, but for real talk. We sat around a big oak table. No PR, no spin, just the hard truth. Dignity had to become the baseline, not a luxury. From now on, any business that didn't meet that standard was out, no exceptions. The world doesn't change with hashtags or thoughts and prayers. It changes when people with leverage decide to stop letting injustice slide because it's convenient. If you're wondering what happened to Chloe and the rest, let's just say systems have a way of purging what doesn't serve them anymore, especially when the money stops flowing. But that's not the real ending. The real story is the cracks in the old order, the conversations sparked behind closed doors, the policies rewritten not because someone made noise, but because someone refused to disappear. So yeah, I left Gate 24 without my first-class seat, but I took something much more important with me, a blueprint for dismantling the silent, smiling, ruthless systems that try to keep people in their place. And to anyone listening, anyone who's been there, feeling like you're one smirk away from vanishing, I see you. I see all of it. Now, tell me, where do you draw your own line? When is enough enough? Drop your thoughts below. What's justice look like to you, noise or silence? Fight or finesse? Because trust me, the reckoning always comes, one way or another.